POV Italian Cooking in association with Simply Good Food TV, where today we're going to make Semolina Three Cheese Bread. Now before we get started, click that subscribe button in YouTube and download the Simply Good Food TV app. The Semolina Three Cheese Bread is packed full of flavor, my family loves it, and my son actually nicknamed it Next Level Bread. When we take a look at the ingredients of this video, you're going to see that my flour to cheese ratio heavily favors the cheese side. This bread has gruyere, shredded mozzarella, and a finely shredded parm. You have to really by hand work this cheese into the dough because there is just so much cheese. But then again, that's why it's so packed full of flavor. This bread is one of my favorites to make because it is much more simple to make than some of the other breads that I make in my videos. And also because I enjoy watching my family just cut into this loaf so quickly and it disappears in no time. So I rambled and rambled and rambled about this bread and how good it is. It's time for you guys to see. So let's take a look at our ingredients. We're going to take a real quick look at the ingredients for our Semolina cheese bread. This is just an incredible flavor-packed bread. Our ingredients, we have 1 1/8 cup of warm water. Water should be around 105, 110 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in my mixer. We have 2 teaspoons of instant yeast. I'm going to go ahead and get that in my water because we want that to get dissolved. Give it a quick little stir here just to get it all mixed up. We have 2 tablespoons of olive oil. We have 1.5 teaspoons of salt, and I always use the sea salt. We have 1 cup or about 90 grams of shredded parm, and this is a finely shredded parm. We have 1 cup or 115 grams of whole milk shredded mozzarella. And then we have 115 grams or about 1 cup of cubed gruyere cheese. Now you'll notice I say grams. Anytime I'm baking now, I kind of went to weight because it gives you a lot better, a lot more accurate reading on your flours and whatnot. So now for our flour, what we're going to use is 2 cups or 242 grams of unbleached all-purpose flour. So got this on my scale here. We're at 200, 210, ooh, got away from me there, that's 280, so let's back this off. There is 242 grams, or 2 cups. Now for our semolina flour, we want, I have this written down, so I'm going to glance over to my notes. 142 grams, or 1 cup of our semolina flour. So, woo, perfect. All right, I'm gonna turn my scale off and get this out of the way. Get a nice scale on from your local cooking store, your baking store, Amazon, but from somewhere. I'm gonna go ahead and put my salt right in my flours, and I want to give my flours a quick mix and my salt because I want to get everything kind of evenly distributed here in the bowl before I put them into my water. And my water's coming along. We're going to need a few more minutes on our yeast to be ready. Our yeast is pretty much ready. It's dissolved in our water. You can see here it's nice and cloudy. So let's get to making our dough. This bread I made it one other time and it's just absolutely incredible. The semolina flour kind of injects flavor, and of course when you got 3 cheeses in bread, it just couldn't be better. So what we're going to do here, get our mixer going, put our 2 tablespoons of olive oil right in. We're going to take our 1 cup of semolina flour mixed with 2 cups of unbleached all-purpose flour and 1.5 teaspoons of salt into our water, nice and slow. Let this get all mixed in. We'll let our paddle do its job and then we'll switch to the dough hook. Let's get switched to the dough hook. Knock off the little remnants of dough off from our paddle. Get the rest of that flour that's trying to get away. It looks a little bit wet now. you're going to be tempted when you see this to say, oh my gosh, that's too wet, I need to throw in flour. But be patient. Semolina flour is a little bit more coarse than your normal flours. It's almost kind of like a cornmeal, like a fine cornmeal, and it takes a little bit for that water to get soaked in. And besides, a wetter dough is better dough. Now I'm going to put this up on 2. We're going to let this knead for 2 or 3 minutes and see. Then it'll come together and we'll check it out and make sure it's not too wet. Okay, it's been a minute or 2. Our dough's kind of balled up there. So we're going to go ahead and finish this by hand. Go ahead and just scrape this off my dough hook real quick. Oh, this is perfect. 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 Like I always say, man, I love a wet dough. Don't be intimidated by it. Sometimes wet doughs can be a little harder to work with. This one's not so wet, it's unmanageable. So now what we're going to do here is we are going to, let me put a little bit of flour down. I'm not going to put down much. This mat I have is real nice for baking. Yeah, you can see this is a little bit on the sticky side. I'm going to get all my dough in there. But it's going to be perfect. Now the reason I need to finish kneading this by hand is I have to work my cheese in. So what we're going to do, kind of as we're kneading, I'm going to just keep sprinkling in my cheese. We'll get a little bit of Parm, a little bit of mozz, and a few cubes of our gruyere. Kind of punch them down in there. Just kind of fold it. Same thing. A little bit of Parm, a little bit of mozz. Some cubes of gruyere, and we're going to work all this cheese in. It seems like a lot of cheese, and the first time I made this I thought, man, this just doesn't seem right. It's a lot of cheese for the amount of dough I'm putting in, or amount of flour. But I'm telling you, this stuff is incredible. And you can see I'm not like overly working the dough yet because I want to get all my cheese in, and then we'll go crazy with working it and kneading it. Get a few more of these cubes. Push them down in. Fold it over. It's just a ton of cheese. But I'm telling you, this bread is powerful tasty. I absolutely love this one. Now normally you want to knead your breads until they get real smooth. This one's not going to get smooth. You know, like a nice velvety texture because it's full of cheese. You can see our dough ball got a lot bigger when you put three cups of cheese in anything, and it will grow on you. All right, so now I'm not gonna overwork this. Maybe just kind of fold it in on itself a little bit, just to make sure I get everything done. Squeeze it all in there, like some pockets of Parmesan. All right, I'm going to say that this is done. So now what we're going to do, get a large bowl, put a little bit of oil in it and kind of rub your oil around. I've got these nice little storage containers that I bought at my local restaurant supply store. I'm going to put a dollop of oil in there. Grab a paper towel. Make sure you get it coated all the way around and up the sides with your oil. Put our dough in, slap the lid on, make sure it gets on there tight. If you don't have a storage container, just oil a nice bowl, cover it tightly with plastic so none of your moisture escapes. Find a nice warm corner of your kitchen, put that in there in the warm corner for about 2 hours. It's probably not going to double in size, but it'll get darn close in 2 hours. So 2 hours, we're gonna get this thing shaped and let it go for its second rise. So our cheese bread has almost doubled in size. It's not going to get much bigger than that. So I'm going to put down just a little bit of flour. So all we're going to do is we're just going to take this and just kind of, we want to get it kind of turned under to pull the glutens tight on the top so that it'll have a nice even crust. But I don't want to overwork it. So I'm just kind of taking my hands. I stretched it when I put it in. I'm just kind of taking my hands and getting it into a nice loaf shape while trying to push those chunks of Gruyere back in that were kind of sticking out. All right, this loaf is shaped good enough. Now you're going to want to put this on a piece of parchment paper because, well, quite honestly, because the cheese is going to kind of come out of it a little bit. It has so much cheese, some of it's going to come out. And if you have a baking stone, I recommend using a baking stone with this, but you don't want to get all that cheese on your baking stone. If you don't have a baking stone, you can just put this right on a baking sheet and throw it in your oven. We're going to let this rise for about an hour to an hour and a half. When I do my dough on the second rise, I like to cover it with like a tea towel, and I'm going to moisten this tea towel with hot water and probably just kind of heat it up again maybe every half hour, halfway through or so, and then cover it up. We're going to let it go for an hour, and then when it's done, we will come back and bake this. Now I am going to kind of push this, kind of having second thoughts now. I just want to get this, make it a little bit longer, stretch it out just a little bit. That way when it rises, more than likely it's going to rise. When it rises, it's going to spread out than up, just because it has no structure to hold it up. And I want it to be a little bit longer of a loaf. Perfect. There we go. You can see I stretched it out just a tiny, tiny bit. That's going to be really good. All right, we'll let this rise. Hour and a half, then we'll throw it in the oven. Our cheesy bread has been rising for a couple hours. You can see that it didn't really get taller, it spreads out. But it's a beautiful, beautiful looking loaf of bread. Now this is going to go in the oven. I'm going to put this parchment paper right on my baking stone. If you don't have a baking stone, just put it right on a baking sheet. This is going to go in the oven at 425 for about 30 to 35 minutes until we get a really good, nice brown color on it. So I am going to get this in my oven. When it's nice and golden brown, we'll come back and take her out of the oven. So I just took a look at our semolina cheese bread and it's ready to come out of the oven. Looks real good. So I'm going to grab it real quick. Beautiful. Some of the cheese burst out, but that's okay. And I can tell you, that smells incredible. Oh my gosh, I can't wait till this cools off enough so we can cut off a piece and give it a try. Just got a call from my lovely wife. She's on her way home from work. And she wanted me to make this bread for her, so she's going to be excited when she walks in the door. Can't wait. Let this cool off. We're going to give it a try. So I can't wait for the semolina cheese bread to cool down all the way. And besides that, I had my wife came home and she's like, when are you going to cut it? When are you going to cut it? When are you going to cut it? So I have to cut it or she's not going to leave me alone. It's way too hot to cut. It really is, but I can't wait either. So we're going to give this a try. Oh my gosh, it's so soft. The knife just goes right through it. This is going to be so good. Alright, so it's very open. You can see that it's got a really nice structure to it with all that cheese. Let's give it a try. Anyway, we can try this. Can you hear the cat? He wants some too. This is incredible. I love the semolina flour, the flavor it injects into breads anyway. My favorite flour to work with. The cat's meowing nonstop. Now the dog's gonna bark, I can see her.
It's good.
But the mozzarella, the gruyere, the Parmesan, super cheesy trifecta. This bread is incredible. Make it now. Go to the store, get everything you need. Make this right now. And with that, thank you so much for watching POV Italian Cooking. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Google+, but most importantly, click that subscribe button in YouTube and download the Simply Good Food TV app. Thanks for watching, and ciao.